Purpose. I was looking for my purpose for a really long time. In fact, this is something that most people that I know seem to be looking for. For me, the question launched me on a journey to travel around the world for 12 consecutive years straight. I traveled to nearly 50 countries on 5 continents, learning, working, and sharing time side by side with different traditional cultural elders. It's only now that I've begun to slow down a bit and allow the dust to settle, because I've learned that I really love my own bed. These elders have reoriented me to life in such a beautiful way. Without their wisdom, guidance, and my continued ability to say yes, I would have never found my current orientation. Because purpose cannot be found without wisdom. And wisdom is something that is distilled down from thousands and thousands of years of the human culture and experience into a process and a tincture for the ailing heart. And as I stand here before you today, I have never felt more loving, more empowered, more vital, and more confident in why I am here and what I have to offer the world. So I'm humbled to share a few of these insights that I've gathered on my own journey to find purpose, so hopefully they can reconnect you back to life as well. The first time that I ever remember looking for my purpose, I was 20 years old. I had just quit the baseball team, realizing that I wasn't going to go professional, and all at once felt sad and confused. The majority of my entire life I had dedicated to playing baseball, and now without some achievement or accomplishment on the horizon, it felt like my whole life had been a waste. And this really deep hollowness emerged. And little did I know that this emptiness was a key transition point in my life, because any moment of confusion or emptiness is the ripe space for potentiality to emerge. And my solution at the time to deal with this uncomfortable feeling was to go and travel and study abroad. So I swapped a couple credits around and took off on a plane to Hong Kong. And wow, a whole new world. I was living in Hong Kong for the summer, studying and traveling around Southeast Asia, and it was a complete sensory overload. I'd never met so many different people from so many different cultures, eating so many different foods and hanging out with them in so many different parks with Buddha in them. It was incredible. It was my introduction into the vastness of the world. And what this showed me was that my one environment, which I had called my home for the last 20 years, was only one environment. It was only one way of viewing the world. It was one reality. And this really opened me up to curiosity and a possibility to live in a different way. And curiosity is a dying art. And in fact, there is no true change or discovery without it. And one of the things that my curiosity has piqued is language. Curiously enough, I realized that the majority of the words that I speak in my day-to-day life, I don't know the definition of, nor do I know the root word of. So I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to figure out what my purpose is, I should probably find out what purpose means. So I looked up the word, and purpose etymologically comes from a root word from the 1300s, which means aim, intention, or proper function for which something exists. Okay, well, who's looking for my purpose? I am, Ra. But what else am I? I'm a human being. And it dawned on me that in all my years of being a human, I had never looked up the word human or where the word human comes from. So I decided to look that word up as well. And human comes from the root word humus, which means ground or soil. So to apply the definition of purpose, what is the aim, intention, or proper function for which a human being exists? Technology has deeply nudged us out of connection with the earth, each other, and ourselves under the guise of connectivity. So many of us have zero relationship with anything that keeps us alive. So many of us don't remember the traditions of our ancestors, or even where they come from. So many of us have never even planted a seed in the ground, never mind cared for it and cultivated it until it bore fruit. Gandhi says, to forget how to tend the earth and dig the soil, we forget ourself. So I realized pretty early on that there was no way that I was going to find my true purpose unless I reconnected with what it meant to be a human at its deepest roots. The first time that I ever worked with the soil, I was 23 years old. I had just left a job in the financial software industry that I'd picked up because I was short on cash. And I left because I realized the insanity of the term bucket list. And I remember exactly when it happened. I'd came back from a trip to Israel. I was sitting in my cubicle, and keyboards were clicking in this orchestral tune. And as I looked around, I thought, is this it? Is this what I went to university for? And as I continued looking around, my contemplation led me to believe that the majority of the people here would probably be working in some sort of 9-to-5 context for the remainder of their life, pushing off their biggest adventures into this chunk of our life called the bucket list. And I thought, there has to be a different way to do this. Because by the time that a lot of people get there, they're not fit enough to hike the Himalayan mountains, or they're too risk-averse to eat a nopales street taco in Mexico from an abuela. And in that moment, I decided I was going to live in a different way. And I packed up my things and I took off on a plane to Hawaii. And the first place that I landed was on the west side of the island of Oahu, on a permaculture farm and artist village. And it was here that I met the first two elders who drastically shifted my entire life. They were two beings who saw me on a far deeper level than I saw myself. And this was pretty disorienting and strange at first. But equally as powerful was this was the first time in all of my life that I was working with the land. In 23 years of my existence, I had never even planted a seed in the ground. And to compound that, I didn't even view that as a problem, even though food had kept me alive literally my entire life. So on the farm, we were given responsibilities called seva, or service. Our responsibilities were to the land and to the community, and these were our rights. Mine were twofold. Number one, wake up, and at 6 a.m., sweep the bridge that connected the two different parts of the farm. Number two, once that task is adequately complete, weed by hand for 6 hours a day. After 2 days, I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? The custodian of the farm was a revered sadhu from Sri Lanka, and he would say, Ra, don't worry. Life is a yatra, a journey, a pilgrimage. And I prayed that he was right, as day in and day out I would weed the vegetable patches. And I don't know how many of you have weeded for 6 hours a day by hand, never mind for an entire month straight. But some subtlety starts to emerge. And as my hands were deep in the soil, my skin would start to turn the consistency and color of the earth. And as the sun was beating down on me and sweat was dripping off of my hand, it looked very similar to water dripping off of a leaf. In fact, all of the main differences between me and the soil and the vegetables started to become blurred a bit. And I know now that I was experientially beginning to understand that all of us are made up of the exact same elements in the periodic table that the entire natural world is made up of. My very breath comes from the respiration of billions of years of trees, algae, and plankton. Food has built my flesh and gives me energy on a day-to-day basis. And I cannot live without water, just like the plants. In fact, I could lose my leg, my arm, or my eye and still live. But if I lose the air, food, or water, I die. Which one is more important than my so-called body? Which one is my actual body? And plants and animals have been here a lot longer than us. They are our elders. They're our ancestors. Anything that has come before you and takes care of you is traditionally revered and respected as you would a human elder. We have a lot to learn from them. So there's no denying our interconnection with the natural world. Yet somewhere along the line, we have implemented a binary or an ideological split between human and nature. We've done this between heaven and earth. We've done this between business and planet. We've done this between civilization and the wild. And we've done this between us and purpose. But purpose is interconnection, because purpose does not exist in a vacuum, because we are dependent upon all of life to exist for us to even ask about our purpose in the first place. But somehow we've forgotten about all of this interconnected relation, and we've made it about us. It's become human-centric, and because of that, it's become extractive. And we all want more of everything. We want to accumulate, possess, and claim things as ours. More money, more power, more growth, more followers, more purpose. But you don't find purpose in that way. It's not an object. It's not a noun. In fact, it's not even something that you can find. You can't grab it. You can't claim it, put it in your pocket, or accrue interest on it, or accumulate it. Purpose is a process of uncovering, like dusting off dirt from your hands in the garden. It's a process of remembering. And as I began to remember this, I thought, well, I should go to the places in the world where I think that the people still remember. And this led me to Nepal. And in 2017, I was living in a Mahayana Buddhist monastery northeast of the city of Kathmandu. My day-to-day life was meditating 6 to 8 hours a day, looking over the most epic mountains that I had ever seen in my whole life and learning about the Dharma. And every morning at 4 a.m., there'd be a gong. Boom! And you'd kind of be startled awake in bed, throw some clothes on in the dark, and shuffle off to the stupa to prostrate to Buddha on the altar for about 2 hours. I only went about half the time because prostrating is not fun. But after the prostrations, one of the days, I asked the nun, I said, "Excuse me, can you explain why we're doing this? Isn't Buddha just a man?" And she said, "Good question. Gautama is the man who we often call Buddha. Buddha is his state of being. The word means awakened one. And inside of all of us, we have our own Buddha nature. So you're actually prostrating to yourself on that altar." And this knocked me back. Because in that moment, I realized that I would never find my purpose through an external task, hobby, or a profession. I would only find it through remembering what I already am. And all of these veils of illusion that prevent me from seeing myself is why I'm unavailable to find my purpose. But I still thought that I needed to do everything to get rid of these veils of illusion. But when I went to India for the second time in 2019, an elder flipped this realization and planted it into a seed of which I'm still watering today. And mind you, this was 9 years into my journeys of seeking. He said, "Ra, you have to understand something. Seeking is only one part of the journey, because ultimately you have to ask, what is the seeker seeking? The seeker is seeking itself." It clicked. I was looking for me. I am my purpose. No wonder I couldn't find it anywhere. And what am I? I'm a human being made up and interconnected with life itself. It was so simple, but it was beyond profound. One thing that I found is that the knowledge of the mind is often complicated and causes confusion, but the heart or the wisdom is clear. And a core tenet of all wisdom from around the world is the felt sense of gratitude for the gift of life. And the traditional response to any gift is reciprocity and responsibility. In fact, they're two parts of the same hoop. In Hawaii, this is called kuleana. And one of my uncles from the Tongva Chumash Nation of California, he told me, "Ra, when you're born, we make an agreement with life. That agreement is with our first breath in. The agreement is that we breathe back out in reciprocity. And our breath is literally made up of billions of years of the respiration of our ancestors. When is the last time that you said thank you to these ancestors for the very breath that keeps you alive? When is the last time that you said thank you to the fire for cooking every single one of your meals your entire life, or keeping you warm in the heart of winter? When is the last time you said thank you to the water for your life, quenching your thirst or washing you off after a long, hot day? That's gratitude, because gratitude is for the things that keep you alive. And you don't only talk about or feel gratitude, you live gratitude. If you're grateful for the water, protect her. You don't only pray on your yoga mat or in church, you live your prayer. You don't prostrate to Buddha on the altar, you prostrate to your own Buddha nature. You don't find your purpose, you are your purpose. This is the yatra, the journey of reconnecting back with life itself. So, I know this could have been a lot of information, so I'm going to leave you with 4 key points here. Number 1, become curious about language. Words will open up portals of discovery for you. Curiosity did not kill the cat. That was a mistranslation. Worry did. Curiosity set the cat free. Number 2, begin to reestablish relations with those things that keep you alive. Water, earth, fire, air, sun, stars. In fact, when's the last time that you laid out all night under the stars until the sun came up? As Einstein said, look deeper into nature and you will understand everything a whole lot better, including yourself. Number 3, you do not find your purpose, you are your purpose. But you don't get here through personal growth and development. You get here through personal degrowth and decomposition of all of the layers of beliefs that prevent you from seeing yourself. And number 4, once you've understood and viscerally felt that you are your purpose, you have come home. You have now found your internal belonging. You now have the ability to infuse purpose in every single one of your moments from here on out your entire life. From having dinner with your child to meeting someone at the coffee shop. And now you have the ability to ask, well, now that I've found my own belonging, what is it that I belong to? We all belong to the earth. So take care of her because she is you. Thank you.